The smell of fresh-cut flowers filled the grand ballroom, lilies and roses, too sweet. It coated the back of my throat. I stood near the back by a service door, my palms curled around a glass of sparkling water. The bubbles had gone flat. I watched my mother, Marion, glide across the stage. She moved with a practiced, liquid grace. Her chandelier earrings caught the light. Her gown was the color of champagne. It hugged every expectation of wealth. I felt a subtle trembling in my chest. I told myself it was the air conditioning. It was a lie. She raised her glass. Her voice rang with command. "Welcome, dear friends, dear family. Tonight we celebrate not only Luca's and Veronica's wedding, but the future of the Archer legacy." The crowd clapped. Friends, society types, people who owed my mother favors. They nodded in approval. My older brother Lucas stood beside her. He looked handsome in his tailored tuxedo. His hair was slicked back. He wore the mask of the confident heir. Veronica at his side laughed lightly. Her laugh was a small, bright bell. They looked perfect together, untouchable. I felt like an observer. I felt like a ghost. I was the spare part. Then Marion placed her hand on my brother's shoulder. She leaned in. She spoke softly, but the microphone caught it. It was loud enough for me to hear. "And Ethan," her voice dipped. A small, polite acknowledgement. "We're so glad you could come." I nodded. I forced a smile. The muscles in my face felt stiff. They always said I was the quiet one, the good kid. The sensible one, the reliable one, but I knew what they meant. I was the invisible one. The humiliating moment arrived. Marion raised her glass again. Her smile was wide. "As part of this union, Lucas and Veronica will inherit the Archer Trust Fund. The transfer will be direct at the end of this month." A murmur of approval swept the room. I exhaled, a slow, sharp breath. The rest of the family cheered. I turned to Lucas. He saw me. He gave me a curt nod. His eyes flicked away. He could not hold my gaze. My stomach sank, of course. Then with perfect timing, a hush fell. A waiter appeared at my side. He moved directly to me. He held a silver tray. On it was a single, heavy, cream-colored envelope. My name, Ethan, was written on the front in my mother's sharp calligraphy. I took it. The crowd was watching. The music had softened. This was part of the performance. I opened it. Inside, thick, watermarked legal documents, a summary of trust disbursements. I scanned the lines. My name was missing. My share of the trust fund was eliminated. A line near the bottom confirmed it. E. Archer, specified share, null. I looked up at Marion's face. Her smile was still perfect. Her eyes met mine across the ballroom. I saw it, a flicker, a small, cold point of satisfaction. My world tilted. "Please join me," Marion said. Her voice boomed, "in welcoming the newlyweds and celebrating their future as stewards of the Archer legacy." The band struck. The audience applauded. The sound was deafening. I felt pinned. Glass walls had boxed me in. They had decided I was to be sidelined. In that moment I thought, this is the moment my life changed, because that envelope, that announcement, that public erasure, they were not accidents. They were a signal: you don't belong, not in the way I believed I did. Minutes later I needed air. I pushed through the heavy oak doors, the garden terrace. Lanterns glowed white. They hung from the branches of the old trees. Their light was ghostly. I held the water glass tighter. The condensation pooled at my fingers. My heart pounded, not just with shame, with anger, a cold, sharp anger I rarely allowed myself to feel. How many times had I helped? How many nights did I give up to go over spreadsheets? Spreadsheets they never acknowledged. How many weekends did I spend checking structural reports for Archer Construction? Reports that Lucas signed his name to. I saved them millions. I fixed their mistakes. I was the bedrock, and they had just buried me. I heard Veronica's laugh behind me. It cut through the quiet night air. I turned. She and Lucas stood under a magnolia tree. Their silhouettes were soft in the lantern light. "Ethan, there you are," Veronica said. Her voice was too bright. "Enjoying the party?" I had to force the muscles in my face to move. "Yes, thanks." Lucas nodded politely. His hands were deep in his tuxedo pockets. He looked uncomfortable. It felt like an invitation to be part of their world, and a reminder I was not. In the days ahead I would replay that night. I would feel the tug in my gut when Marion refused to look directly at me after her speech. I would notice how Lucas's fiancée clinked glasses with everyone but me. I realized the humiliation wasn't just the trust fund. It was the silence that followed. They had publicly chosen me out. They made me a ghost at my own brother's wedding. And that envelope, it was still in my jacket pocket. It felt as heavy as a stone. It was a catalyst. It hung in my mind like a challenge, one that whispered, "Will you stay silent again?" Just after midnight I waited. The last cars pulled away. Their red taillights vanished down the long gravel drive. The staff was cleaning. I lingered in the library. The mahogany shelves were heavy with family portraits. Archer men in tailored suits, Archer women in pearls. Their painted eyes watched me. The air smelled of furniture polish and old paper. I had grabbed a ledger earlier, from the small, hidden safe behind a false panel. I was dependable. Ethan, I knew the combination. Old trust fund ledgers. I thumbed through the pages. My fingers were shaking. One page caught my eye, a line that said, "Ethan Archer deferred, 0 share allocated by decision of board." My pulse hammered. The board was Marion and Lucas. The door creaked behind me. I froze. There stood Dr. Irene Kessler, my father's old colleague. Her silver hair was pulled back. Her eyes were steady. She was the only one who ever asked my opinion, the only one who looked at me like I was solid. "Ethan," she said, her voice was low but certain, "you didn't see everything tonight. They wanted you to feel powerless." I just stared at her. I could not speak. "Come with me." I followed her down a narrower corridor, a service hall. Dimly lit, cold, she stopped. She handed me a small, black flash drive. "On this is everything. The forged signatures on your original trust fund allocation, the emails where Marion and Lucas discussed reallocating your share. I've kept it safe." I was waiting. My breath caught. I held the flash drive. It was plastic. It felt like a talisman. This is it, the moment that divides life before from life after. The hush of the library, the weight of the portraits watching. It all conspired to make me understand. This was not just about money. It was validation. It was proof I was not crazy. It was reclaiming my identity. I closed my eyes for a second. Can I do this? Can I confront them? The Archer name, my mother's power. The question echoed in my chest. Irene squeezed my shoulder. Her grip was firm. Her prophetic quote flashed in my mind. The words she always told me, "Never mistake their blindness for your truth. Your moment will come." I opened my eyes. I looked at the small piece of plastic, and in that quiet corridor I realized my moment had begun. I remember sitting at the dining table as a child. The table was enormous, polished dark wood, plates arranged, silver cutlery gleaming. My father sat at the head. He looked at Lucas. He winked. He praised him for being the legacy. He said Lucas had the Archer fire. He rarely looked at me. When he did, it was to ask for help. "Ethan, pass the salt." Then he turned to Marion. "Ethan's good, but he's more comfortable behind the scenes." The message sank deep. I'm invisible. I am furniture. I was 8, maybe 9. I brought home a perfect grade in math. I was proud. I found Marion in the sitting room. She was reading. "I got 100, I said. She looked up. "That's nice, Ethan. You'll make someone a very reliable employee someday." She did not smile. She did not look up again. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I folded the paper. I put it in my pocket. I learned to shrink. I learned to be tidy. I learned to be secure. I learned to expect nothing. It was never enough. When I was 12, Lucas broke his arm playing football. Father brought him ice cream. Marion read to him. I was building a complex model airplane. It took weeks. I finished it. I brought it to show them. "Look," I said. Father glanced over. "Good job, son. Don't get glue on the carpet." Lucas laughed. "It's just a toy." I took the plane back to my room. Family gatherings were rehearsals I couldn't memorize. Lucas always got the spotlight. I was the quiet support. The safe child. On my 30th birthday, Marion raised her glass, a small dinner. "Just us. Here's to Ethan," she said, "who keeps things steady." Applause. I smiled. Inside I felt hollow. I wondered, why isn't my name the one they celebrate? As I got older, I became part of the family operations, Archer Construction. I was a civil engineer. I was good at it. I worked on cost analysis, late nights in the office. I found efficiencies. I saved the company millions on the new high-rise project. My name was never on the press release. Lucas stood front and center, speeches, awards, press appearances. I handled the numbers, I managed the structural integrity reports. But Marion insisted I not reach too far. We were in her office, she was signing checks, she did not look up. "You have your role, Ethan," she told me. "Be grateful." The tone wasn't a suggestion, it was a command. Veronica once teased me, after the wedding, "Ethan, you're so dependable. Aren't you tired of being reliable but invisible?" My smile faltered. She laughed lightly, she took Lucas's arm. The wound felt fresh, I did the work. And I carried the burden, but I got none of the recognition, none of the trust fund, none of the legacy. When I bought a small condo in the city, Marion didn't congratulate me. I used my own salary, a salary she controlled. She frowned. "Why, the estate is your home." She implied I wasn't real family. I felt the trap of control tighten. Money withheld, emotional support withheld, identity diminished. If you fall out of line, you fall out of view. Irene pulled me aside one late night at the company office. The cleaning lights flickered. The hum of computers was the only sound. We were reviewing blueprints for a zoning proposal. She said, "Ethan, you know you matter." I didn't respond at first. I watched her reflection in the glass wall. She continued, "They may treat you like a backup plan, but your value isn't determined by their approval." Her words felt comforting but distant. I nodded. Inside I thought, when, how? Meanwhile, Lucas got the next promotion. Lucas got the photo op. I watched, I was quiet, I calculated, I planted seeds. I kept notes, I started saving emails, I made copies of my reports, I printed meeting minutes where my ideas were presented by my brother. I kept thinking, one day I'll show them who I really am, but at that time it was only a glimmer of hope. At family dinners I observed the pattern. Lucas praised, me ignored. Veronica laughed at my jokes in public but never invited me privately. Marion's affection always danced around the edges. I felt the weight of invisible chains. Emotional coercion, it said, "You may exist here but you're not central." That's when I began to gather evidence, not because I hated them, because I needed to reclaim my self-worth. With the flash drive in my pocket, I started digging. I locked the deadbolt on my condo door. Late nights, my laptop open. Coffee cups stacking up on the table. 1, 2, 3. I plugged in the drive, a single folder, Archer. My hands trembled. I clicked, emails, scanned documents. I started with the emails. Marion to Lucas. Subject, reallocation. "We need to control the narrative," she wrote. "Ethan is stable. He doesn't need the full share. Your new family does." Lucas replied, "He won't fight it. He never fights." My blood ran cold. He never fights. They were counting on my silence. I clicked a scan file, a trust addendum. My name, a signature, Ethan Archer. It was not my signature. The A was too round. The E was too sharp. I always loop my T. This one was a cross. My heart hammered against my ribs. They betrayed me legally, morally. I located a private notary's record, the change in the trust fund allocation. It was filed 12 months earlier. Backdated, I checked my calendar. I was overseas on a work trip. I was in Singapore. I was managing the foundation pour for their new hotel. I was working 18-hour days. While I was gone, they were erasing me. I realized this wasn't a spontaneous decision. This wasn't a last-minute wedding gift. It was premeditated. I sat in the dark. I remembered Irene's quote, "Your moment will come." This was the moment. But fear twisted in me. Marion is powerful. The Archer name carries weight. What if I fail? What if I'm wrong? My hands trembled. I am leaving my future in the air. I lay awake that night. The ceiling was black. The city sirens were distant. I felt rage simmering, but I also felt doubt. If I confront them, I risk losing everything else. The small condo, my job, my sense of belonging. The silence in my ear was heavy. I thought of all the times I stayed silent. Was I really ready to fight? I remembered a childhood moment. I was 10. My father was teaching Lucas to sail. I wanted to go. "Next time, Ethan," my father said. "You stay here, help your mother," I cried. Marion found me. She did not hug me. She knelt. Her eyes were hard. "Stop this, man up, Ethan. Your brother is the heir. You are the support. Know your place." The echoes returned. I had accepted their labels. Quiet, background, safety net. Now that label weighed on me. It was a noose. I whispered to myself, I am not just the quiet one. My body felt electric, hurt, betrayed, but alive. I decided I will act, I will uncover their lies. I met Irene, her study, lined with books, soft lamplight, it smelled like old paper and tea, it felt safe. She slid a thick manila folder across the desk. Here are the bank statements, the notary records. The forged signatures, the physical evidence we need. I stared at them, the legal terminology danced on the page. I swallowed, then I said, I'm going to go public. The words felt strange, they were bold, they were foreign, they were mine. Irene nodded, she was calm. Your moment has come. I felt a strange combination of fear and relief. The next day I resigned from the company role I'd held for years, quietly, without fanfare. I told no one, I rented a small office. I hired a lawyer recommended by Irene, a woman with sharp eyes. They opened the case. I turned off notifications on my phone. I prayed I wouldn't find out something terrible had happened in my absence, but I also whispered to myself, this is mine now. The night before the hearing, I did not sleep. I stood at the window of my small condo, the city lights blurred below. My suit hung on the closet door, it looked like armor or a shroud. My lawyer's words echoed. They will try to paint you as greedy, as vindictive. Do not react, stick to the facts are ours. The day arrived, the court hearing, it was semi-public. It would decide whether I could open the trust allocation records. It would decide if I could bring charges of forgery and embezzlement against my mother and my brother. The courthouse loomed, it was a stone fortress. The air inside smelled of old paper and floor wax. The sound of my footsteps echoed on the marble. I walked inside, my suit was crisp. My tie was straight, it felt tight. My heart pounded as if someone struck it with a hammer. I saw them, they were already seated, in the gallery. Marion, she was immaculate in a navy dress, her expression was guarded, bored almost, she was checking her watch. Lucas sat beside her, he looked confident, he was whispering to their lawyer. Veronica held Marion's hand, her painted nails tapped on the wooden bench. Tap, tap, taps, they looked like they were waiting for a business meeting to start, they looked untouchable. I felt a surge, I'm the one walking in now. The judge called the case 22-7, Archer v. Archer Trust. My lawyer stood, I stood with him, I walked past him. He put a hand out just slightly to stop me. I ignored it. I walked to the front of the court, not to the witness stand, to the open space between the tables. Marion's lawyer was on his feet. Your Honor, this is highly irregular. Mr. Archer is not called. The judge looked at me, Mr. Archer. I looked at Marion, I looked at Lucas. Actually, this moment belongs to me. Gasps rippled through the gallery, they sat frozen, Marion's head snapped up, her eyes narrowed, Lucas stopped whispering. I placed the flash drive on the prosecution table, the small plastic made a click on the dark wood, the sound was tiny, it felt huge. Your Honor, my family believes this is a dispute about money, I said, my voice was calm, it did not shake. They are wrong, this is about fraud. Objection, their lawyer shouted, speculation, lack of foundation. Here is the foundation, I said. I nodded to my lawyer. On this drive is the signed letter from the notary, handwritten by Lucas and Marion. Here is the email chain. An email from my mother to my brother. It discusses the elimination of my share while I was working overseas. It discusses controlling the narrative so I would not object. I paused. I watched their faces. The silence in the room was sharp. My lawyer cued the projector. The screen flickered on the courtroom wall. This, my lawyer said, is Ethan Archer's verified signature from his passport. My name appeared, looped T, rounded E. And this, he clicked, is the signature on the trust addendum that nullified his share. The second signature appeared, it was sharp, angled, the T was a simple cross. A hush fell, the forgery was obvious, it was clumsy. The judge leaned forward, he adjusted his glasses. I looked at Lucas, his cheeks flushed a deep, dark red, he knew. He looked down at his hands, he could not look at the screen. Marion's eyes flickered, but she did not move, she stiffened, her posture became rigid, she was a statue of ice. Then the courtroom door opened, all heads turned. Dr. Irene Kessler walked in. The plaintiff calls Dr. Irene Kessler, my lawyer said. Objection, Marion's lawyer was red-faced, this witness was not on the list. She is a rebuttal witness, Your Honor, my lawyer said calmly. to the defense's expected claims of family harmony and misunderstanding. Overruled, I'll allow it, the judge said. Irene was sworn in, her voice was steady, it cut through the tension. Marion said to me 2 years ago, Ethan won't know until the documents are finalized. He's the quiet one, he'll be fine. I felt the room shift, I felt the weight of years lift slightly from my shoulders. He'll be fine, the words hung in the air, the proof of their dismissal. We have one more witness, my lawyer said, the notary, he is appearing via live video link. The screen flickered again, a man's face appeared, he was pale, he was sweating. My lawyer was gentle, sir, please state your name for the court. He did, do you recognize the addendum on the screen? The man looked at his own lawyer off camera, he swallowed. Yes. Is that your signature? Did you notarize this document? The courtroom held its breath. No, the man whispered. Please speak up, the judge said. No, the man said louder. I was asked to look the other way, I was told. It was an internal family matter. I was not in the state on that date. The courtroom murmured a loud, shocked sound. The Archer family looked stunned. Lucas put his head in his hands. Veronica pulled her hand away from Marion's, a small, clear, final rejection. I realized this was bigger than me, it was justice. I closed my eyes for a moment, I inhaled deeply, my body felt electric. Unshackled, when I opened my eyes, I looked at the gallery, friends, extended family, the press, all eyes were on me, and I wasn't shrinking anymore. The judge ruled, his voice was sharp. The forged trust fund allocation is nullified. This court finds sufficient evidence of willful misrepresentation and fraud. He struck the gavel, the sound was final. Marion and Lucas faced the consequences, civil penalties, public exposure, the loss of their social standing, the loss of their influence. As I walked out of the courthouse, the doors opened to chaos. Reporters, cameras, the flashbulbs were blinding. Mrs. Archer, did you steal from your son? Lucas, what's your comment? I saw Marion's face, it was pale, she did not look at the cameras, she did not look at me, she stared straight ahead. She walked like a queen to her execution. Veronica grabbed Lucas's arm and pulled him through the crowd. He looked broken, he offered no words. I felt neither triumph nor malice, I just felt calm, it's done. A few weeks later I sat in a different office, clean glass walls, a view of the city. My new lawyer slid the documents across the table. I signed new papers. I signed my name, the real one. I had rightful access to the Archer Trust. I used part of it to launch my own foundation. I called it the Keystone Foundation. It focuses on mentoring overlooked children, kids from families where they feel invisible. I moved into a modest house, no mansion, no grand estate, it smells like fresh paint and sawdust. I put the mailbox up myself, my name is on it, Ethan Archer. I wake each morning and feel solid, I feel real. Marion's reputation took a tumble, social invitations vanished, board seats were relinquished. I saw a headline, Archer matriarch steps down from museum board, her world collapsed. Lucas and Veronica offered surface apologies. Lucas called, his voice was small. Ethan, Mom, she's not doing well. It was an attempt at guilt, I did not accept it. I know, Lucas, I said. Goodbye, I hung up. Veronica sent a text, we should have coffee for old times. I deleted the message. I knew, I no longer needed them to see me, I saw myself. There are nights I still sit in my living room, the streetlights make patterns on the floor, I still feel the old ache. I feel the memory of that envelope at the wedding, the flash of satisfaction in my mother's eyes. It no longer defines me, but it is a scar, it reminds me of what was lost. I've learned being quiet was once a burden, they used it as a box to keep me in. Now it's a strength, it was my observation post. It was where I gathered the truth, I observe, I plan, I act when the time is right, my integrity remains intact. My self-worth no longer depends on their approval, it is not on a ledger, it is not up for a vote. To audience, I want you to hear this, being underestimated doesn't define your worth, it prepares you. If someone treats you like the background, like the safe option, like the one who will just be fine, let them. Remember, your value exists outside their narrative, your truth is not theirs to write. The truth will find its way to the light, and when it does, make sure you're ready. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below what part resonated most with you. Was it the moment you realized you mattered, the confrontation, or the new beginning? And if you want more stories like this, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell, your journey matters. Imagining the silent crowd nodding, I pause, let the weight of the moment settle. You, the viewer, feel the scandal, the betrayal, the quiet rise of power. You feel the pain of being ignored, and the thrill of reclaiming your story. Because this isn't just my story, it's yours if you've ever been sidelined. Months later, I visited Irene at her study. The same books, the same soft lamplight. Her cat curled on the sofa. We sat in silence for a long moment. It was a comfortable silence. She smiled and said, "You took your moment, Ethan." I looked at her. I thought about the foundation. I thought about the kids I would help. It wasn't just about me anymore. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt free, because the legacy I reclaimed wasn't just money, it was myself. Thank you for staying with me through this. Remember, you deserve to step